Rise of the Lycan Princess. Chapter 19. Dawn leaked across Blue Moon's snow-rimmed ridges like pale ink, turning every shattered icicle into a thin line of silver. Narah moved through the ceremonial grounds with Ronan on her right and Cole on her left, boots crunching over frost-hardened gravel. The air smelled of pine smoke from last night's watchfires and faint iron from blood scrubbed off flagstones. Above, half-finished banners snapped in a breeze that carried more whispers than cheers. Cole tipped his head toward a knot of warriors huddled by the well. Word travels. Some claim the mirror inside you lets you hear other people's thoughts. Others think you could crack their bond marks with a glare. I wish either talent were true, Narah answered, tightening the fur collar around her throat. The cut on her bicep tugged, but Maris's salve dulled the ache. I would read hearts and mend them faster. Freya's voice curled through her mind, rich and low. Trust is a sapling, little moon. Give it water and time. Then the wolf added, or plant a few scares to keep weeds away. But Narah sensed the tease beneath the growl. Ronan brushed the back of her hand with gloved fingers. Fear lingers after fire, but you gave them warmth to stand beside. They'll remember. Ahead, sun fingers pierced the eastern timberline, gilding the jagged top of the Moon Rill Temple. A pair of hollow fang rangers, still posted since yesterday, bowed as Narah approached. She offered a tired smile before turning toward the old Blue Moon dais where she had addressed the pack only 2 days before. It felt like weeks. Will the shards echo again? Cole asked softly, eyes flicking to the sky as though expecting more crimson flares. Celine sealed that fragment, Ronan replied, but the mirror grows cunning. And the realm grows anxious. Narah perched on the dais's broken step. She watched a cluster of freed omegas carrying water buckets across the square, shoulders straighter than yesterday, yet each head turned as she rose, measuring distance. Cole followed her gaze. They're grateful, just waiting to know how solid the ground is. It will take more than gratitude to hold them together, Narah said. Her tone held no complaint, just weary fact. She took a breath, letting cold sting her lungs. Compassion and clarity. Freya hummed agreement. Clear hearts make sharp teeth. Before Narah could reply, hoofbeats thundered down the east road. A courier wearing Iron Crest blue vaulted off a foam-flecked mare, snow-sprayed. "Princess Narah," he shouted, chest heaving. "Urgent word from Commander Cole." Cole blinked. "I'm here." "Different, Cole," the courier wheezed, then thrust a wax-sealed scroll into Narah's hand. Under the Lycan King's crest, her steward's shaky script read, "Mirror energies detected beneath Frostglass Abyss. Celine believes a fourth shard has awakened." Narah's pulse thudded. She crumpled snow around the parchment edges before tucking it into her belt. "We leave within the hour." Ronan's brow nodded. "Straight to Iron Crest?" "To Iron Crest first," Narah confirmed. "Mother summons every pack for a summit. If Frostglass birthed another shard, we'll need the whole realm behind us." Cole exhaled. "I'll secure Blue Moon and lead volunteers to follow." "You'll protect Hope," Narah corrected gently. "That is harder." He saluted, fist to heart. As the courier wheeled about to change mounts, Narah scanned the courtyard once more. Warriors repairing torn shields paused to watch her. Elders knitting new banners glanced up. Omegas filling troughs halted their work. She lifted her chin. "Blue Moon," she called, her voice carrying to gatehouses and balconies. Conversations quieted. "Your alpha rises with you. We will not hide behind walls while shadows creep. But the pack's strength is born here in hearths and hands. Guard each other. Trust Cole. Trust the elders. And remember, one shard broke because you believed." A ripple of nods, tentative but real, traveled outward like ripples on a pond. A pup, balanced on a barrel, waved a scrap of cloth and others copied. Narah let herself feel the warmth for one heartbeat before turning toward the stables. Ronan kept pace as they crossed the training yard. The moment you speak, they uncoil. "Words are seeds," she murmured. I pray they grow fast. Freya chuckled. Water with courage, watch them sprout. They saddled Ember and Nightwind quickly. Lucian jogged from the barracks, Elias behind, buckling sword belts. Talia emerged, adjusting fletching on a new quiver, Kale testing the swing of a broadaxe across his back. Celine stood near a wagon, hands glowing over the iron chest housing the sealed shard. Ice runes flared, then settled. The witch looked up. Containment holds, but it thrums harder every hour. We need Ironcrest's vault. Then we ride, Narah said, swinging onto Ember. Double file, no banners. If cult scouts lurk, let them think us bruised. The column, 26 riders and the rune wagon, filed through Blue Moon's gates as dawn gilded treetops. Narah glanced back once. Smoke curling from chimneys, coal atop the wall giving a thumbs up, freed pups chasing a stray chicken. She tucked the memory in her chest. Snow churned under hooves on the north road. Pine frost glittered like blue dust. As riders settled into rhythm, Lucian guided his horse alongside Narah's. I saw your face when you read that message. Shard 4 confirmed? Frostglass abyss, she said. Deep tunnels, old moon shrine. Lucian whistled low. Bad terrain, slick obsidian, sheer drops. You'll need mountain goats, not horses. Raven Hollow scouts know cliff paths, Talia called from 2 rows back. I'll borrow their toes. Kale snorted. If Raven Hollow shares them. They will, Narah said, or we'll convince them at summit. Miles passed in muffled silence broken only by snorting horses and the squeal of wagon wheels. Around midday, they paused at a frozen creek where the water gurgled beneath thin ice. The riders watered mounts, then gathered near Celine's wagon for dried fruit and jerked venison. Elias knelt by the iron chest. A faint crimson glow seeped through seams. It's louder than yesterday. Louder, Ronan asked. Feel. Elias pressed Ronan's palm to the lid. A low vibration thrummed. Narah touched it too, like a heartbeat out of time with her own. Celine wiped sweat despite the cold. Shard fragments respond to one another. When one is destroyed, others amplify. They're calling. Calling who? Lucian muttered. Or what? Celine met Narah's gaze. Calling her. Freya bristled inside, fur prickling. Sister or bait? We stop the call before it finishes, Narah said. She mounted Ember again. Ride. By dusk they reached Ironcrest's western gate, banners snapping in mountain wind. Flame braziers lit crenellations where sentries hailed them. Gate chains rattled. Heavy timbers swung inward. They entered to find the courtyard teeming with pack banners. Raven Hollow's crimson hawk. Riverbreak's silver tide. Hollowfang's twin crescents. Even small colors from Glen Pine, Storm Peak, and Snowreed. Maris hurried across the flagstones, cheeks pink with cold, followed by 2 healers lugging baskets of bandages. She pulled Narah from the saddle into a brief hug. We prepared guest chambers, but you're needed in the Great Hall now. The Queen is waiting. Narah gave Ember's reins to a stable hand and flashed Ronan a rallying smile before striding beneath the archway into Ironcrest Keep. Freya's energy flickered around her shoulders like invisible fur. She passed stained glass windows aglow with torchlight and felt centuries of Lycan history watch each footstep. Inside the vast hall, tables had been pushed to walls. A circular war map occupied the marble floor, silver inlay tracing mountains, rivers and pack borders. Dozens of leaders stood around it. The Lycan king's stern presence anchored one side. The queen, regal in ice blue velvet, lifted a hand as Narah entered. Her eyes shone, pride muffling deep worry. Narah bowed briefly, then moved to the map's center. Celine and Ronan flanked her. Lucian and Elias took stations near a roll of parchment. Talia found vantage at a balcony rail. Kale crossed arms near the Western Pack's delegation, axe glinting against torchlight. Iona emerged from shadow in Raven Hollow gray. Raven Hollow's hawk-eyed matron, aged blind in one eye yet sharp as pine, spoke first. We gather because new calamity rattles our bones. Show us the danger. Narah signaled Selene, who opened the iron chest a mere hair. Crimson light spilled upward, dancing across astonished faces before she clamped it shut. Gasps and growls filled the hall. Riverbreak's tide collar slammed a trident butt to the floor. Blood siren. Why bring it here? To show truth, Narah said. The mirror shards grow. Destroy one and the rest howl louder. 3 shards now race toward Darkglass Crater. A 4th stirs at Frostglass Abyss. Fingers trace the map. Lucian unfurled a parchment pinning corners with daggers. Shards at Ravenspire and Moonrill fell. He planted iron nails. 3 remain. 1 dormant near Storm Peak. 1 awakening in Frostglass. 1 in the cult's grasp near Darkglass. He pointed to converging arrows. They mean to fuel a blood eclipse ritual on the night the moon shadows the sun in 7 nights. Ronan's voice carried. If successful, mate bonds will fracture, packs will turn feral, and the realm will burn. Murmurs rose. Hollowfang's alpha thorn rumbled. Where was the realm when Mirror cracked first? Fighting separate shadows, Narah answered. Now we fight one storm. Freya roared inside her and spectral gold flickered over Narah's shoulders. Wolf outline shimmering. Many leaders gasped. Even the Tidecaller's eyes widened. Raven Hollow's matron stepped forward. Show of power does not grant trust. Show us plan. Lucian outlined the 3-prong strategy with terse precision. Ronan would lead Iron Crest heavy infantry and allied units to fortify Darkglass passes. Narah's stealth team would infiltrate Frostglass to break, or contain, the 4th shard. Cole would secure Blue Moon and funnel supplies. Raven Hollow scouts would guide Narah's team. Riverbreak would supply siege fish oil for flame barriers. Hollowfang archers would reinforce Darkglass slopes. The debate flared. Riverbreak's emissary demanded proof the mirror threatened oceans as well. Kyle advocated destroying shards with brute ice. Iona cautioned that smashing them without containment risked red shockwaves. Narah listened, answered calmly, offered compromises. She used compassion to steady fear, clarity to cut through pride. Slowly, arguments cooled. After 2 hours, the Moon Alliance was inked on hide parchment, temporary but binding. Leaders pressed signet rings into wax. When the matron's scarred talon left its mark, Freya sighed relief. With politics set, the summit ended. Torches dimmed. Servants cleared goblets. Ronan approached Narah, extending a wrapped bundle, a silver-edged dagger inscribed with the crest of Iron Crest's first queen, his mother's blade. For the path that twists, he said softly. Narah drew the dagger, balanced, gleaming, and pressed her lips to its flat. I will carry her courage. She took a braid of navy and ivory cord from her pouch, tying it around his wrist. And you will bear mine. Lucian strode over, pressing a compact spyglass into her palm. Char iron frame, resists frost. Use it to watch my blind spots. He hugged her, murmuring, Stay alive, Nar. She squeezed back. I plan to collect more teasing from you. Nearby, Talia prodded Kale's ribs. I am currently ahead 9 golems to 4. Kale rolled an eye. Count the one you stuck after I cracked it. Maris fussed over Kale's stitches. Both of you drink calming tea before bickering. Laughter warmed stone walls. Night deepened. Northern lights ribboned sky beyond arrow slits. Narah's team assembled in the courtyard. Iron Crest smiths distributed snow-white cloaks laced with faint rune thread, camouflage forged by Raven Hollow weavers. Narah adjusted hers, feeling the weight of cold wind and hotter destiny. Selene handed out 2 vials of Moon Tear elixir. 1 drop dissolves mirror lure illusions, she warned. Her cheeks were pale. Narah worried about the toll this war demanded. Iona approached with a satchel of frostfire bombs, blue flames flickering within glass orbs. Shatter them on stone. They freeze, then explode. Kale grinned. My kind of lantern. Before departure, Narah and Ronan found a quiet archway. Snow dusted Ronan's brows. He cradled her face, thumb tracing her cheek. I will stand at Dark Glass Pass, he said. Feel our bond and know I hold the gate. She laid the dagger flat against his chest. Feel our bond and know I will break the chain. They kissed, slow, steady, filling lungs with each other's breath. Freya and Ronan's wolf brushed unseen noses, tails entwining in spirit. Time, Elias called softly. Narah lingered one heartbeat longer, then turned. She vaulted onto Ember. The stealth unit formed behind. Talia astride a fleet-foot gray, Kale on a massive roan, Celine riding a obsidian mare whose breath steamed like smoke. Iona mounted a white stallion. Elias and 2 Raven Hollow scouts brought up the rear. Lucian swung the courtyard gates wide. Snowflakes drifted in golden lamplight. Narah lifted her hood, meeting Ronan's gaze across distance. Moon guide you, he whispered, and sun warm you, she replied. With a heel to Ember's flank, she led the party into darkness. The city's glow faded behind, replaced by whispering pines and the hush of night animals. Hours later, under Aurora ribbons, they followed Raven Hollow scouts up a knife-edge ridge. Celine motioned them to halt. Ahead, a standing stone gleamed with fresh spirals. She knelt, sprinkling a single drop of moon tear. The rune flared blue, then hissed to ash. But with the spell's success, blood trickled from her nose. Narah offered a cloth. You bleed for our light. While breath remains, Celine murmured. Later, unexpected wind flung snow across the narrow path. Talia signaled danger, pointing to flickers of red far below, mirror sentry patrols. Narah raised 2 fingers. The team crouched in silence, cloaks melting into snowdrifts. When the patrol passed, they rose, skipping stones down a frozen creek to mask footfalls. At second moonrise, Celine stumbled. Kyle caught her. Rune's draining you, he grunted. Keep moving, she insisted, wiping sweat. They descended into the frostglass foothills, mountains looming like serrated knives. The path narrowed into a defile where ice-coated rock and black glass. Ravens croaked overhead, unsettling. Talia stopped abruptly. Sentries. She gestured to silhouettes across a ravine, 4 mirror-masked figures sweeping lantern beams. Narah exchanged looks with Freya. Silent takedown, Freya urged. Narah nodded. She signaled partial shift. Fur rippled across her arms, claws gleamed. Kale's eyes brightened amber. He bared fangs. Talia knocked 2 arrows. Iona's fingers birthed a sphere of frost fire. They charged. Talia's arrow struck first, one sentry's throat, another's knee. Kyle bounded rock to rock, axe whistling to cleave a third mask. Narah and Freya leapt onto the lead sentry. He raised a crystal blade, but her claws raked his chest. Red sparks fizzed as mirror magic died. Silence resumed. Snow absorbed blood. Narah signaled regroup. No alarms rang. Elias studied the bodies. More glass than flesh, they're puppets. And the puppeteer awaits below, Iona whispered. They pressed on, hearts pounding. A narrow tunnel opened into darkness. Cold air poured upward like a breath from the underworld. Stark moonlight etched frost spires along the entrance lip. Celine's runes glimmered, painting stair swirls into the dark. Narah inhaled. Frostglass abyss. Kale hefted axe. After you, princess. She met each gaze. Trust, courage, flickers of fear. Freya steadied her pulse. Together, they stepped into the abyss, descending into the mirror's next lair. Above, aurora ribbons brightened as if the sky itself watched. Deep underground, the shard's molten heartbeat quickened. Cold vapor clung to Narah's lashes as she took the first step into Frostglass abyss. The stairs, slick with hoarfrost, reflected moonlight like a fractured mirror. Each footfall yielded a crystalline ping that echoed in the depths. Behind her, Talia knocked an arrow against her bowstring despite the cramped descent. Celine's staff cast dim blue pulses ahead, runes sweeping like lantern beams. Iona whispered incantations of silence, weaving a hushed veil that dampened the crunch of Kale's boots. Freya's presence sharpened Narah's senses, every drip of water, every hairline crack in the walls. The wolf murmured, "Ice remembers pain. We tread in its memory." Elias, bringing up the rear with 2 Raven Hollow scouts, muttered a half-joking prayer. "If this tunnel decides to sneeze, we'll all end up stalagmites." "Focus on breathing, not humor," Celine whispered back. A bead of sweat rolled down her temple, freezing mid-slide. Narah noted the witch's wan face but held her tongue. They needed Celine's strength intact. The stairs plunged deeper, twisting into a spiral carved centuries earlier by ancestors seeking lunar resonance. Now spirals of mirror runes marred the stone. Narah brushed one gently. It thrummed like a plucked harpstring, but the pitch was wrong, disharmonic. Iona glanced at her. "They're weaving mirror vibrations into the local ley lines. If we fail, the shard could bleed energy straight into Hollowfang wells, or worse." "Then we will not fail," Narah said. The stairwell ended at a landing. A narrow stone arch opened into a hall of rippling black glass. Frost dusted the floor like powdered moonlight. Lanterns of solid ice hung from the ceiling, burning with blood-red flame. Talia hissed between teeth. Kale pointed. "Golems." At first Narah saw only reflections. Then the constructs moved, towering figures shaped from curved glass plates, each piece edged in faint crimson. Eye holes in their translucent masks glowed a dull red, and mirror spirals shimmered across their torsos. Freya's growl vibrated in Narah's chest, not illusions. 6, Elias whispered. 3 forward, 3 flanking, Narah counted. Celine shifted her staff to her left hand. Their cores sit behind chest spirals. Shatter those, they fall. Kale hefted his axe. Aim for the center. Iona withdrew 2 frostfire orbs. Ready. Narah stepped forward, claws sprouting at fingertips. Freya murmured battle focus. One of the golems raised an arm. A blade of glass slid from its forearm with a ringing hiss. It charged, heavy footfalls cracking frost. Narah sprinted to meet it, Unity's promise flashing out. The first clash sent vibration through her bones. Sparks of red and silver scattered. Narah darted sideways, slashing behind the spiral core. The glass chipped, but held. Kale barreled into a second golem, axe cleaving through its shield arm in a shower of shards. The construct whirled, striking with a spinning backhand. Kale grunted, bracing. Talia's arrow whistled past Narah's ear, embedding in a third golem's neck. Glass fissured, red energy sputtering. Iona hurled an orb. Frostfire exploded around 2 constructs, ice crystals caking their legs. Celine stood behind Narah, chanting swiftly. Blue runes flowed from her staff, wrapping a golem's torso like vines. Cracks spread, and the construct's spiral core splintered. The creature crumbled into a heap of glittering shards. A golem lunged at Celine from her blind side, blade poised. Narah leaped, intercepting. She raked her claws across its face, then stabbed the dagger Ronan had gifted her straight through the spiral. Crimson light winked out. The body fell. Elias and the scouts engaged the last 2 constructs, daggers striking weak points. Talia fired 2 arrows in rapid succession, snapping another core. Kyle swung an overhead chop, splitting the final golem cleanly. Shards clanged to the floor. Silence fell. The hall's red lanterns flickered as though wind had passed. Frost dust settled over broken glass. Celine wiped blood from her nose. They were guarding the tunnel. The shard altar must be close. Narah glanced at the fractured remains glittering at her boots. No time to rest. Move. The corridor narrowed, opening onto a cavern vast enough to swallow Iron Crest's hall. A fissure split the floor, exposing molten rock glowing dull orange. Above it rose the altar, a bulbous mound of black glass fused with obsidian marked by deep channels of lava that pulsed like veins. Atop, Half-buried, jutted the shard, larger than Narah had imagined, shaped like a twisted spear of living glass, its core beating crimson. Talia's breath caught. Moon-cursed. It's enormous. Celine swayed. That energy could detonate half the mountain if unstable. Iona's eyes were wide but resolute. We sever it before the cult completes siphoning. Narah advanced. Freya's fur bristled. Heavy dread coiled in her gut. The shard's pulse echoed her heartbeat, trying to mimic, then override. She focused on Ronan's memory. Warm laugh. Silver eyes. The tug loosened. Kale and Elias circled left. Talia and the scouts knocked arrows from the right. Selene positioned at a compass point opposite Narah, staff ready. Iona prepared frostfire bombs, stacking them at the base of a jagged pillar. On my mark, Narah whispered. She took a running start, claws biting glassy rock to gain purchase up the steep slope of the altar. The heat intensified, radiating from the molten fissure beneath. At halfway, molten sweat beaded on her brow. The shard towered above, radiating hungry red flares. She heard faint whispers in mirror tongue, tones she didn't comprehend yet understood. Surrender. Sister. Freya snarled. Not today. Narah reached the pedestal and plunged Unity's promise into the glass near the shard's base. Silver fire lanced through obsidian, cracking lines outward. The shard shrieked, vibration rattling her bones. Kale hurled his axe like a comet, blade embedding in the opposite side. Cracks deepened, lava oozing. Selene began chanting a sonic rhythm. Blue chains erupted from her staff, spiraling around the shard. The construct fought back. Red lightning darted across chains, melting segments. Selene grimaced but held. Iona lobbed 2 frostfire bombs. They detonated along the lower fissures, flash-freezing molten rock, then exploding. Glass rained into the lava pit. Talia's arrows penetrated hairline cracks, each head exploding with mirror-bane resin. Elias leapt, driving twin daggers along a fracture. Sparks shot skyward. The shard's pulse became an arrhythmic throb. Narah felt it sear her lungs. She roared, Freya's voice merging, and drove her claws directly into the crimson core. Pain like liquid fire flared. She forced her will through the shard. Images of blue moon pines, Ronan's laughter, Cole's hopeful eyes, Maris's warm bread, the child's carved stone. Silver erupted along her arm, racing into the shard's heart. It split with a thunderous crack. A blinding flash forced everyone to look away. When vision cleared, the shard lay in 2 jagged halves. One piece slid down, dunking into lava. Molten glass hissed, swallowing it. The remaining half rocked on the altar lip, glowing but flickering unstable. Narah seized it, heat scorching her gloves, and tossed it toward Iona's frostfire bombs. Kale slammed his axe onto it mid-air, shattering it to dust that sizzled on the stone. A tremor shook the cavern. Obsidian webs glowed white, then fractured. "Cave in!" Talia shouted. Rock above groaned. Selene staggered as blue chains dissipated. Narah slid down the altar, nearly losing footing. Kyle caught her arm. They sprinted toward a secondary tunnel as the ceiling began shedding slabs of obsidian. Lava gouts splashed. Iona waved them on, throwing a frostfire orb that froze a falling boulder long enough for everyone to duck under it. Behind them, the altar collapsed, lava geysering into a plume of molten shards that lit the cavern crimson. The tunnel shook violently. Elias led, cutting through a thin wall of glass that had formed like curtains. Scouts fired grapnels, hooking upper ledges, guiding the party up a steep vertical chimney. Dust choked lungs. Narah's muscles screamed, but she climbed, claws digging into ice-laced rock. A last thunderous boom rippled below. Heat gusted up at their boots. Then fresh air struck her face, icy pure. She hauled herself onto a ledge opening beneath a gray pre-dawn sky. Snow whirled, cold bit sweat-soaked skin. One by one, the team burst onto the ledge. Talia helped Selene, whose face was bloodless but resolute. Kale emerged last, coughing smoke. The mountain behind them belched a red plume. Then the tunnel mouth collapsed, sealing the abyss. For a long moment they stood panting in biting wind. Narah clutched the remnants of her scorched glove. Palm blistered. Freya murmured, "Pain is proof of victory." Kale spat blackened phlegm. "I'll miss my axe." Talia slapped his arm. "You have 2 more." Celine leaned against a rock, closing her eyes. Half shard destroyed. But the other. She gestured to the mountain's belly. "Lost in lava," Iona said. "If the cult can retrieve that." "They already have," Narah whispered. Something inside her mark twisted. A sudden hollow click. Images flashed. A hooded figure lifting molten glass from a smoking altar. A woman of mirrored flame smiling. Ronan's anguish flooded across the bond for a heartbeat, distant but sharp. Narah doubled over. Selene steadied her. "What did you see?" "They retrieved the shard." Narah gasped. "They thanked me for giving it." Wind howled through bare branches. Red aurora shimmered overhead though sun had not set. Snow glittered crimson. Freya spoke inside, low and grim. 2 remain and 1 now burns stronger. Elias scanned the valley. "Time to retreat. We head for the East Pass rendezvous." Narah straightened, wiping ash from her cheek. "Signal Ronan. Let him know we're alive and the shard half lost." Talia lit a beacon arrow, firing it high. It burst white, group code for partial success. Another burst glowed red, warning of shard movement. Far off, 3 white flares responded from a ridge, Iron Crest watchers acknowledging. "Move," Narah ordered. They began descent down a frozen slope. Ice cracked beneath boots, but they kept pace. Selene walked between Kale and Iona, leaning on her staff. As they neared a stand of pines, Freya's ears pricked in Narah's mind. Someone ahead. A figure approached up the slope, hollow fang scout insignia visible. He bowed. "Message from King Ronan," he panted, passing a folded cloth. Narah opened it. Simple ink strokes. Bond tug, red sky, converge faster. She looked east. Dark glass crater lay behind jagged peaks now glimmering crimson at edges. "We meet him tomorrow night," she said. "We cannot lose another shard." They trekked through snow until dusk bled out daylight. Campsite fires dotted ravines. Selene slept under thick furs, still weak. Kale sharpened a replacement axe while Talia mended bowstrings. Iona brewed bitterroot tea. Elias mapped shortcuts to Darkglass. Narah stood apart, spyglass in hand. She scanned the sky. An ember glow flared briefly far to the southeast, then faded. Ronan's heartbeat pulsed through bond, steady yet tense. She whispered, "Hold for me." Freya nudged. Rest. Strength needed. She joined the others, taking a cup of hot tea from Iona. It tasted like forest earth and iron, reviving muscles. Kale offered a rare smile. "We lived." "Living's a habit," she replied, settling near Selene. The witch stirred. "Blood eclipse in 5 nights," she murmured. "Then we shatter mirrors faster," Narah said. Later, clouds parted, revealing the moon 1 day shy of full. The group sank into restless sleep beneath its glow. Narah dreamed. Shards floating like planets around a central mirror. The ember-haired woman beckoned. "Sister, join the dance." Narah answered by hurling silver fire that cracked the nearest shard, but 3 more flared red. She jerked awake to darkness before dawn. Snow drifted. Freya breathed calm. She pressed the spyglass to her lips. "See you at the eclipse," she whispered back to the wind, accepting the challenge. Miles away, the cloaked leader watched the molten half-shard settle onto a dark altar ringed with spiral runes. Flames erupted red-black. The mirror woman smiled, touching cracked glass. "She grows stronger, so do we." The leader's voice slithered. "Prepare the final 2. When moons collide, hearts will break, and the Lycan princess will kneel." The shard pulsed, the sound of a distant bell tolling midnight. Snow fluttered through a hole in the cavern roof, melting into steam upon hitting the molten shard. Above, clouds swallowed the stars. Snow-chilled vapor clung to Narah's lashes as she took the next step down the spiral stair of translucent ice. Each tread chimed like struck crystal, echoing into blackness. Behind her, Talia crept in half-crouch, bow already strung. Kael's axe haft kissed the icy rail. Celine's staff glimmered blue sigils ahead, while Iona murmured a hush veil that soaked up stray sounds. The two Raven Hollow scouts, Rave and Lyssa, padded last, short recurves in hand. Freya whispered inside Narah's head. Glass hearts cut deepest in the dark. Move slow, strike first. They reached a landing where the stair corkscrewed into a cathedral-sized cavern. Columns of black obsidian rose like frozen smoke, too perfect to be natural. Mirror cult sigils, spirals fused with broken crescents, bloomed in red across every pillar. At the center of the floor, a vein of molten glass snaked toward a distant glow. Celine crouched and brushed the ground. This entire shelf feeds heat upward. The shard must sit atop a magma pocket. A crackling footfall echoed. Narah signaled halt. The team melted behind pillars. Two mirror-masked sentries, glass plates where faces should be, marched past, blades crimson-etched. Talia loosed an arrow. The shaft punched through the nearer mask, spraying razor shards. Kyle stormed out, burying his axe in the second sentry's collar before it could shout. Shattered fragments refused into glowing cinders that seeped back toward the molten path. These things heal, Elias muttered. They reassemble so long as the shard pulses, Celine said, tightening her grip on the staff. Break shard. Break puppets. They advanced down a narrow ridge overlooking a yawning chasm. Far below, lava rolled under a crust of smoky glass. A natural stone arch formed a bridge toward the glow. Halfway across, living mirror golems guarded a dais. Humanoid sculptures 15 feet tall, torsos ribbed with ruby seams. Talia clicked her tongue. I've only 9 arrows left that will chip that. We fight smart, Narah answered. She pressed fingers to the dagger Ronan had gifted. Its silver edge felt cool despite the heat. Freya pulsed agreement. Iona uncorked a frostfire orb. Cold blue flames licked inside the glass. Kael hefted 2 throwing axes. Lyssa knocked an ironhead broadhead on her bow. Narah inhaled and let her wolf and woman merge, hair silvered, eyes glowing bright, muscles lengthened, claws sprouted. She sprang from the ridge onto the bridge, Unity's promise blazing in her right hand. Now, she barked. Talia's arrow streaked, slamming the first golem's shoulder joint. Frostfire orb followed, exploding against a second guardian's thigh, icing molten veins, then detonating with a bass boom. Kael's throwing axe clipped a third's knee, throwing it off balance. Iona chanted frost chains. Selene thrust her staff forward, rune waves rippling, slowing golem limbs. Narah barrel rolled under a sweeping molten fist, slashed the inner elbow joint, then drove her dagger, Ronan's gift, into the seam. Liquid glass hissed. Limbs sagged useless. The creature roared, shaking crystal shards across the bridge. Elias ducked a second swipe, plunged twin knives between segmented rib plates. Rave and Lyssa peppered joints with rapid shots. One guardian toppled, shattering down the side of the arch into lava where it melted with a hiss. But another surged from the magma below, new defender born from shard energy. Celine grimaced, nose bleeding. Supply is endless, she gasped. We must reach the altar. Cover me, Narah ordered. Freya flooded her limbs with power. She sprinted, vaulted off a cracked rail, and landed on the dais. Heat scorched her boots. And there it was. The fourth shard, a massive half-cocoon fused to a glassy pillar, throbbing red and gold like a living furnace. Voices spilled from its surface, snatches of her own laugh, Ronan's vow, her mother's lullaby, warped and woven with a stranger's song. The shard sensed her presence, heartbeat sinking to hers. Freya snarled, "Strike true!" Narah drove Unity's promise into the shard. A deafening ring clanged. Cracks spidered but refused to split. Crimson lightning leapt up the blade into her arm. She cried out. Selene thrust staff runes into the ground, trying to siphon energy. The fissures grew, but so did the shard's howl. From within the glow, a figure coalesced. The ember-haired woman, flame gown rippling, eyes mirror bright, her visage superimposed over Narah's reflection. "Sister," she crooned, "one heart, one flame. Join me." Narah's vision wavered, pillars blurred. She saw fields of dead moons, wolves howling through broken mirrors. Freya dug metaphorical claws into Narah's mind. Anchor. Remember Ronan's warmth. Remember Cole's steadfast heart. Narah's knees buckled, but Cale slammed his axe into the shard crack beside Unity's promise. Talia loosed an arrow into the fissure. The shard screeched, glow sputtering. Selene yelled an incantation. Blue binding runes crawled across the surface. Suddenly the dais lurched. Magma pressure fissured the floor. Cale grabbed Selene. Elias hauled Iona back. Narah yanked Unity's promise free and thrust again, directly into the heart of the crack. A thunderous snap. Half the shard broke into jagged fragments that exploded into vapor. The other half plunged into the molten chasm beneath, still aglow. A shockwave of red and white light rushed outward, hurling everyone backward. The stone arch groaned. Narah tumbled against Elias. Talia skidded, nearly sliding off the bridge until Rave caught her cloak. Molten rock splashed, spitting shards that hissed where they landed. The cavern ceiling thundered. Obsidian droplights shattered. A chunk of ice glass plummeted, smashing the causeway behind. Cale's booming voice cut through the dust. "Retreat! Ceiling coming down!" Narah struggled to her feet, ears ringing. Her blade glowed white-hot. She sheathed it, ignoring the scorched leather. Freya drove adrenaline through her limbs. She sprinted as columns cracked overhead. Selene clung to Kael, eyes bleeding tears of silver magic. The team recrossed the bridge. Chunks collapsed behind them into magma. "Jump!" Talia shouted. They leapt over a widening fissure, landing on the main path. An avalanche of glassy shards roared down. Iona raised a frosty shield that deflected fragments. Final sprint up the spiral stair. Ice steps sheared off under their boots, but they burst into the open air as the entrance belched steam. The tunnel mouth caved, sealing frost glass abyss beneath tons of rock. Panting in the snow, Narah doubled over, palms on knees. Freya's voice was low, but proud. "We shattered half. 2 remain." Selene sagged to the ground, blood trickling from nostril and ear. Cale knelt, offering water. She drank, then whispered. The mirror felt that. Ronan's bond tugged painfully through Narah's chest. She staggered. He, miles away, sensed her stumble. Flickers of his worry flashed across their link. She inhaled, steadied, projected reassurance. The tug eased but persisted. Red aurora ignited across the sky, swirling like wounded flame. Elias pointed. Shard network reacting. Narah lifted Unity's promise, now dim, and examined a tiny sliver lodged at its tip. A reminder that half the shard had escaped into magma. The sliver twitched, as if trying to flee. Iona's brow furrowed. That fragment still connects. Keep it until we can seal it. Snow gusted, extinguishing their torches. The team formed a huddle against the chill. Spirits scraped raw, but alive. Freya murmured, "We breathe. We plan. We hunt the next." At Iron Crest, Ronan doubled over beside a ridgeline battlement, a phantom pain lancing across his bond mark. Commander Garrick steadied him. "Your Majesty?" "I'm fine," Ronan rasped, though sweat glazed his brow. He closed his eyes and saw, just for a heartbeat, Narah on all fours amid swirling ash, clutching a glowing sliver. Alive. Relief flooded him. Garrick scanned the horizon. "We felt the sky bleed red. Shard activity?" "Confirmed," Ronan said, straightening. "Prepare fallback archers. If this surge echoes here, we need shields at every ward." High overhead, the aurora deepened crimson. Garrison wolves murmured prayers. Riverbreak siege crews tightened catapult ropes. Hollowfang archers tested moon-silver arrowheads. Back in the Frostglass foothills, Narah's team limped into a makeshift clearing beneath starlight. Kyle built a low fire. Talia set snares. Celine sat wrapped in 2 cloaks, pressing rune bandages to her temples. Elias sawed off a fur strip to bind Narah's scorched hand. "You nearly melted yourself," he scolded. "I'll thaw later," Narah answered hoarsely. She rolled the shard sliver in a scrap of rune cloth. It pulsed faintly. Freya sniffed it and growled. Iona knelt beside Selene. "Spellburn?" Selene gave a wan smile. "Third such today. I will survive." Narah set a hand on Selene's shoulder. "Rest now. We ride for Iron Crest at first light." Night wore on. Snow quit falling. Cold sharpened. Kale dozed, sitting up. Talia returned with 2 hares, which Lissa began skinning. Narah found a moment alone at the clearing's edge, embracing quiet. Freya rested, yet constant red glimmer under clouds unnerved her. Recognizable words teased the wind. Her own voice, distorted. "See you at the eclipse." She swallowed. The Ember Woman's tone carried mock affection, tinged with longing. Sister, friend, foe. Narah pushed the voice aside, but knew it followed. At false dawn, they broke camp. Selene insisted on riding. The journey back to Iron Crest passed in tired silence, broken only by the crunch of hooves and caw of winter ravens. They reached the citadel at dusk. Ronan stood waiting in the bailey, cloak billowing. Narah dismounted and stumbled straight into his arms. He hugged her fiercely. "You shattered it," he murmured. "Half," she corrected. She pressed the cloth-wrapped sliver into his palm. "And it screams." Lucian rushed up, spyglass at hip. "We saw the sky. You good?" "Alive," she said. Selene was helped inside. Iona followed, delivering a terse report to the Queen, who paled but rallied servants for medical supplies. Hollowfang's Luna whispered prayers. Night deepened, strategy tables reopened. Narah, Ronan, Selene, Lucian, Elias, Kyle, Talia, Iona, and ambassadors crowded over new maps. The red aurora persisted, flickering like blood flame. Frostglass shard neutralized by half, Selene rasped, but its remainder merged with magma vein. Potential eruption lens for next ritual. Lucian pinned Darkglass crater on the map. They'll channel power from the vein to the crater. Ronan's jaw tightened. Time? 9 nights to lunar convergence, Elias said. Less if they accelerate. Narah dragged a finger along supply lines. Raven Hollow through North Pass. Riverbreak barges along Ice River. Blue Moon's sled teams due in 2 days. We push siege forces tomorrow. Kale slapped the map. And we shatter 5th shard before it breathes. Selene eyed the sliver. This fragment can locate its twin. Talia grinned. Like bloodhound bait? Perfect. While scribes recorded orders, Narah and Ronan retreated to a quiet antechamber. Candles flickered. She removed her cloak. He cupped her scorched hand, thumb tracing blistered knuckles. Pain? He asked. Memory, she answered. And warning. He pressed her hand to his chest. We end this at Darkglass. Together. Freya murmured assent, and Ronan's wolf echoed a low, steady growl. Far across the snowbound wilderness, deep beneath volcanic stone, the cloaked cult leader laid the molten shard in an obsidian basin. Runes flared. The Ember Woman watched, embers curling around her ankles like restless serpents. 2 remain, she said, voice a mix of triumph and yearning. The leader's reply drifted like cold smoke. Then 2 more songs and the world cracks. She grows stronger. Good. Breaking a steel blade is harder than snapping glass, but more rewarding. He stroked the molten shard. Blood bubbled from his palm, feeding the glow. Somewhere beyond the vault, a slumbering shard woke, its light reflecting a landscape of jagged glaciers, perhaps Storm Peak. The Ember Woman whispered almost tenderly, "Soon, Narah. See you at the eclipse." At Iron Crest, Narah jolted, hearing the echo of those words in her mind like a distant bell. She met Ronan's eyes. "She's calling again." His hand tightened around hers. "Let her call. We'll answer in steel and moonfire." Outside, the crimson aurora intensified, painting Iron Crest's snowfields blood red. Bells tolled on the towers, 1, 2, 3, and the Moon Alliance roused for the march that would decide the realm's bonds and break, or save every heart tethered to the light.